right now is that what level of Java is required. Look, if you want to learn Selenium, okay, then if this is Selenium, right, Selenium code will be written using Java language. Apart from this, when you make a project, okay, when we make a project in Selenium, what we do, we read the data from the Excel files, okay, we generate some reports, right. When the script runs, we also generate some logs. That means what is happening when script is running. Okay, so if you have a test case, so for that test case, Selenium will read the data from the Excel file. Okay, Selenium will generate some reports. Selenium will also generate some logs. Okay, now this part is also done using Java language. This is not the part for Selenium. Okay, the one I have highlighted in the big box. Fine. But again, Java is required. Java is required for all these things. So you cannot just run away from Java, think that fine, I did Java 2 years back, so I think I can do this tool. Don't think like that. You have to know it in a very good way. Fine. Any other question from anybody?
I have a question. Okay, I used the programming like 12 years ago, but since that I haven't done any programming. I totally forgot Java, C++. Now I can say I'm not even I don't even remember any programming languages. Now based on this, like if okay, I know I have to learn Java. I have no problem with that. But at the same time, this course, how does it help me to do Selenium since I don't know Java?
Look, in the course, I will not directly start with Selenium. I will be starting with Java. Okay, and I will be taking the concepts of Selenium parallelly with the concepts of Java language. Alright, because majority of the people who come into training, they are not aware of Java language. Fine. So I don't jump directly to Selenium. I'll first take Java and then I'll start with Selenium. Okay.
Okay. Okay. And then my another question is, at the end of the course, I know that Selenium doesn't have a certificate, but we did receive any email or any paper that we finished the course from you guys?
Yeah, I can send you the certificate. That's not a problem. Like many people expect that, so I send it to them.
Okay, sure. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah.
Ashish, this is Hassan with another question. I mean, can you open the diagram you just saw on the notepad, or you delete it?
Yeah.
Okay. So, what are the activities you said that from? So, can you go over? Let's say this is the Selenium on the top, and on the bottom you say.
This is just a generic idea which I gave you that when you work with Selenium, you have to do all these things. You have to do the reporting, read the data, generate the logs. Along with that, you have to do a number of other things. Okay.
Okay.
So to do all these things, you need Java code. Okay. Java is the very basic. All right.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Okay. So we will start with the Java language. I'll give you an overview of the tool, an overview of the training first. Fine. Well, the online training, this training will last for around 6 weeks. Okay, depending 5 to 6 weeks, depending on how fast we go. All right. And as I told you, you'll be getting the recorded sessions of all the modules which are listed on the website. Okay. Right. Now let me give you a small overview of Selenium as a tool, how it is, how it evolved over a period of time. Right. Now it's not Selenium is just.
Ashish, just sorry to interrupt you. So let's say we taking the course, getting all the information and the knowledge, but somehow on the real life situation, if we stuck on something else, so would you and your team can help us to find out the problem and do the solution?
Look, I have a forum where you can post your questions. All the trainers, all the people who get the training are in that forum, and I monitor that forum. You can definitely post your questions in that forum. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. All right.
Excuse me.
Yeah. Is somebody asking a question?
Yes. Hi, Ashish. I would like to know. I can see there are 43 plus modules in your website. So how do you cover that in the online session? So when you
yeah, that's what I'll answer you right now. Look, covering all the 43 modules which are there on the website is not feasible for me in the online training, because firstly it's too huge, fine. Secondly, not everybody wants all the modules. Okay, so what I'll be covering in this training is Java, and I'll be covering WebDriver, and I'll be covering frameworks. Okay. For all the other things which you have to learn, you can actually refer the pre-recorded sessions and you can learn from them. This is because Selenium is quite vast. Okay, it's not that it is just one tool. For example, if you talk about QTP, then everybody knows that QTP is a single tool. It gets installed in your machine. You open it, you start coding. That's it. Okay, but Selenium as a tool, if you look at it, then there was something known as, initially when Selenium came up, there was something known as Selenium RC. Then there is still something known as Selenium IDE. Then there is GRID. Okay, and IDE is something which works on Mozilla, but it cannot be used to, if you have around 1000 test cases to execute, then you cannot use IDE. IDE is a very simple tool which can be used on simple websites of say 3 to 4 pages. But if your test cases are complex, then you cannot use IDE. IDE will never generate your reports as well. It will only work on Mozilla, right? So to overcome all these drawbacks, we have something known as Selenium RC, which works on multiple browsers like Mozilla, Chrome, IE, Opera, and all, right? Okay. Now Selenium RC also had various drawbacks. When initially Selenium came up in the market, it was Selenium RC which came up, right? Now Selenium RC got modified into something known as Selenium WebDriver. Okay, this is known as Selenium 1.0. This is known as Selenium 2.0. Selenium WebDriver also did all the things which Selenium RC did, but it had a lot of advantages. For example, in Selenium RC, every time you had to work on Selenium RC, you ended up opening up command prompt and starting up a server and all that stuff, and many times the server never used to start up. So it used to give a lot of problems. Okay, so all those drawbacks, they were removed in RC, and WebDriver came into the play, right? And IDE is still the same. It only works on Mozilla, fine. And GRID has moved over to GRID 2. So this GRID is actually something which is used to run your test cases parallelly. Okay, you make a central machine as a hub, and you connect various machines to it, and you can run your test cases parallelly on multiple machines so that the execution time is reduced. So for that we use GRID. Alright, so these are the various components of Selenium. So it's not just one tool, it's got many things inside it. Now people who have worked on RC, when they look at the WebDriver code, they are not at all able to understand. These two are not at all related to each other. Selenium RC and WebDriver, they are completely different. Okay, so RC commands are very different, WebDriver commands are different. If you have worked on RC, you will never be able to understand WebDriver. So there is no dependency. You can go as a normal person, you can directly go and learn WebDriver as well. Alright, but to do all these things, first of all, you have to learn the Java language. Now Selenium as a tool, WebDriver as a tool is available with many languages like Java, Ruby, Python, C#. Alright, I ask people to learn it with Java language is because around 70 to 80% of the industry uses Java language. That's the major reason. Okay, Google is also using Selenium. Google uses Selenium to automate all its web-based applications. Right? They also use it with Java, and moreover, this Selenium WebDriver, the main entity behind the development of this WebDriver is Google. The Google guys, they thought that fine, RC has got a lot of drawbacks. Okay, let us make WebDriver. All right. So Guys, just give me 1 minute. I'll be back. Just give me 1 minute. So these are the various components of Selenium as a tool. Fine. So fine. Now, anybody having any questions before I start off with the very basics of Java language? Nothing?
Just question. You are recording this session?
Yes, I am recording this
Okay.
session. Okay, fine. So now moving further, right? Now about the audience, about the training, right? Should you be attending this training or not, and why should you do this, right? Look, what I recommend is that if you are a kind of person who thinks that, well, I am not very good at programming, I have never done programming, right? If you even don't know what a if statement is, what a for loop is, because there are sometimes people who come to me and they are not comfortable with programming at all, they have never done it, then I would recommend you, then don't go for this training directly. Okay, don't go for this training directly. What you can do is you can buy the videos, right? The training videos, watch them, right? Get some background and then join the next batch by paying the remaining fee. This way, what happens is that when you come to the training, you come with the background, okay? But if you're a kind of person who has done programming, at least you know what a for loop is, if statement is, how they are used, okay? You can actually um, go for this training. Fine. There's a question being asked: are we going to talk about RESTful API testing and HTTP methods? Look, Raj, Selenium is not used for that. That comes under web services testing. You can use SOAP-UI for that, for REST API testing. Selenium is only for browser-based testing. There is no command in Selenium which will help you test REST API calls and all that stuff. Are you getting my point? But I see we have a class for WebTHHP. What is that WebTHHP? I never described that in my course. I was referring to Java doc. They have the class web HTTP, but that class is not for web services. That class is not about the web. You can have get and post methods, that's fine, but web services is completely different. The response and request has to be sent in form of XML. Okay, for web services testing, we have a different tool which I told just few minutes back. That tool is known as SOAP-UI, and it's a better tool. If for web services testing, the Java docs are completely different. Okay, hold on. Most of you might not be knowing this. If you want to get the Java docs for web services, type SOAP-UI Java docs, and you will get the Java docs for SOAP-UI. This is the Java documentation for web services. This is not for Selenium. Okay, this is the actual classes which I use for web services testing. Okay, right. Okay, Garima, what's your username? Can you give me your username? I already have the video, so it will be time. Yeah, you can have a look at the videos, and after that you can join the course as well. Right? Yeah, I remember this username. Yeah. Okay, fine, Garima. All right. So now moving further. Okay, I would request everybody to today, when you go back after the class, you have a look at these two videos, Java Introduction and Loops, Arrays and Functions. If you are not comfortable with Java language, these are open videos, you can have a look at them. Fine. So now let's start with Java. The first thing which you need to do is that you need to install Java. I think everybody has installed Java on your machine. If the better thing would be you also go and install JDK, especially if you have got 64-bit machine, right? You go to Google and type download JDK. Go to this link. and this is the JDK download button. You go here and download the JDK exe file for your operating system, right? For 64-bit machine, this is the link. For 32-bit, this is the link. For Mac and all, you have got the links. So this is the URL. This is the URL. I'll give it to you on the Wix chat. Fine. Okay. Now, once you have done that, you need to download Eclipse in your system. All right. Eclipse is the editor for Java language. Fine. Just go to Google and type download Eclipse. Right. You'll get the download page for Eclipse, and this is the download. Hold on. Right. This is the download page for Eclipse, Eclipse IDE for Java EE developers. You download the 32-bit or the 64-bit version, any version depending on your operating system. Okay. Once you have downloaded it and you extract the zip file, you will get this folder known as Eclipse. Fine. And you open this and you'll find eclipse.exe file, which you run and Eclipse will open directly. You don't need to install Eclipse. Okay. Before I go forward, there was a question being asked on iPhone and Android OS, or testing. Hold on. Yeah, what is your experience with Android and iOS driver? These are challenges. No, look, I have worked with Android driver to test Selenium with Android. I never worked on iOS. Android driver works fine, right? I never faced any issue like that. Right? Fine. Now out here you can create. You'll get a window like this when you open Eclipse. This is known as the Workspace launcher. This will contain the path where you'll be storing all your code when you're working with Selenium or when you're working with Java. And I'll name it September weekend batch. Okay, so let it open. Right, this is Eclipse which I just opened up, and this is the welcome screen. You can close the welcome screen from here, and I'll go to Project Explorer, create a new project like this. Fine. This is the window on the left side, which is Project Explorer. Over here you'll keep the projects. In the central part you'll do the coding, and at the bottom you'll get the outputs. Alright, so what I'll do is I'll make a new Java project first. Right click, go to new project option. You'll get a window like this, and in this window under Java you'll find Java project. Okay, click on next and give the project some name. Say I'll give the name as day 1. Fine. Right, you'll see that this project is formed. Inside it you'll see the source folder and something known as GRE system library. GRE system library is nothing but Java which was installed on your system. When you actually downloaded Java and installed, this is GRE system library which becomes the part of the system. Okay, now this is the source folder. Alright, you right click on this folder and you'll get the option of new, and you can select class over here. Inside the source folder you will keep all your Java files. Okay, Java files are also known as Java classes. Alright, right click and you say new class, and a window like this will come up, and you name your class as simple Java example. Checkbox, this checkbox. Okay, click this checkbox, public static void main. Fine. I'll tell you why to click this later on. Just accept few things as they are while we are going through this course. Hold on. Preferences. I'll improve the font size. Basic font. Right. Okay. This is the main function which has come up. Fine. You will have few difficulties or you will have few questions in the beginning that what is this public static void main. Fine. What is static and all that stuff, right? You have to accept few things as they are right now. As I proceed with the course, when I tell you about the concepts of object-oriented programming, fine, it will be clear to you what this static is and all that other stuff, what it is, fine. But for time being, accept the fact that this is your class, simple Java example. The name of the class should be same as the name of the file in Java. Okay, inside it you will get the function public static void main. Now this function is the main function. If you have studied C language, then in C language also there is a main function in which the control comes up for the first time when you run the program. In Java also you have this main function, okay, right, in which the control comes up when you run the program for the first time. Alright, now if I have to print something in Java, the command is system.out.println. Fine, system.out.println is the command in Java to print something. For example, I write over here system.out.println hello Selenium. Fine, and I run this program. You can run this program by clicking on this run button. This is the run button. You can click on it and this program will run, and at the bottom you will see the output hello Selenium printed. So system.out.println is the command to print something. The shortcut is you type syso and then hit control and spacebar of your keyboard. This line will automatically come up. You type syso and control spacebar. Java is a case sensitive language. If S is capital over here, if you give small s, it will throw an error. Okay, so system S has to be in the uppercase. Alright, apart from this, like any other language, you have got if statements, you have got for loops, you have got integers. I am assuming that you at least know these basic things, what they are. Fine, you have a basic knowledge of programming. Alright, now the most important thing about Java language is that it is object oriented in nature. Fine. The primary mistake which people do when they tend to learn Selenium is that they don't tend to learn the object oriented concepts which are there in Selenium, and they directly move forward and start the coding. Look, the thing is you have to be a little systematic. Fine. If you go to the website seleniumhq.org, this is the official website of Selenium. Hold on. If you go to the download section, scroll down, you'll see a link called JavaDoc out here. Fine. This is nothing. Oh, yes, fine. This is nothing but the documentation of the Java version. Alright. Now people say that the documentation of Selenium is not there on the internet. Look, everything is there, right? Only thing is that to understand this documentation, you should have the concept of object-oriented programming very, very clear in your mind. Fine, and that's what the basic focus would be from my side in the beginning, to explain you the concept of object-oriented programming and then tell you how it is used inside Selenium. Fine. So the way we will be going from right now would be, first I will explain you how to download and configure WebDriver, okay, or to be very precise, Selenium WebDriver. Then I will talk about object-oriented programming concepts, and then I'll tell you how to apply those concepts of object-oriented programming in Selenium. Fine. Then we'll talk about application. So today I think I'll be doing these many things. All right, if time permits me. Okay. So now, firstly, how to download and configure Selenium WebDriver. Okay. Now in this Eclipse only, you will write your Selenium code inside the main function. But how do I write it? How do I do that? Right. First of all, you need to download and configure Selenium WebDriver. To what is a jar file in Java? Like fine, take this thing, and you can go to this physical location, right? Inside the source folder, okay, you will have simple Java example.java file, which I just made right now. Okay, inside the source folder, right? But there are other things as well, and one of the folders is bin folder, which is not at all visible inside Eclipse. Inside Eclipse, you can also only map the source folder. Right? If you open the bin folder, you will find that there is something known as sample Java example.class file. If you open it, you will not be able to understand anything in it. This is a class file. Okay, every Java file is converted into a class file, and this class file is actually executed. This class, you can say, it is equivalent to an executable file. If you have to give your client the code, you will not give him the Java file, you will give him the class file so that he can use the class file. He will not be able to manipulate, or he will not be able to read this class file. Okay, fine. Similarly, if I make another program, for example, if I make a new class and I call that as sample.java with the main function, inside it I have print system.out.println, say learn Selenium, and if I run this, prints learn Selenium, and if you open up the bin folder again, you will see that sample.class file has been generated. So for every Java file which is there inside the source folder, fine, a class file will be generated at compile time, right? A class file will be generated and it will be stored inside the bin folder. The class file will actually be an executable file which you can deliver to the client. Fine, and that's what people do. When you make a project and you have to give the project to the client, you give client all the class files. Suppose there's a project in which I have got lot of class files. 1000 class files are there which I have to give to the client, right? So what we do is that we put all the class files together. We don't give them individually, that is but obvious, it's not a very good solution. You have all these class files, fine, you don't give them individually, you put them in a single file known as a jar file and you deliver it to the client. Okay, so basically what I want to say is that every Java file gets converted into a dot class file, and then when many dot class files they come together, right, you can bundle all the class files together into a single file known as the jar file, and you deliver this jar file to the client. Okay, what happens now? I'll give you a practical example. What happens when you install Java in your machine, right? Yeah, Anju, tell me what is the information. Yeah, you raised a hand, right? I cannot hear you. I think you kept yourself on mute, or you can type your question as well if you want. Right? You can type your question. Right? I cannot hear you. All right. Now, when you install Java in your machine, what happens? Where is Java? This is Java. If you create an Eclipse project, you will see this information coming up over here, GRE system library. Alright, this is GRE system library. This is nothing but Java which was installed on your system. If you expand this GRE system library, you will have number of jar files. So Java is nothing but a combination of jar files which get downloaded on your system when you install Java. Okay, each of these jar files, if you expand the jar file, each of these jar files, it contains many class files. Okay, as I told you, every jar file has got class files. So when Java is installed on your system, all these jar files, they get downloaded, right? They are at this location, G drive program file. In your operating system folder, you'll have a folder known as Java. Inside that, GRE lib. Yeah, these are the jar files. You see that? They are downloaded onto your system. Okay, in these jar files, you will have many class files which are actually used to execute or help you run your program. For example, if you have to work with date, you write date system.out.println. Hold on, new date dot. Just a minute, guys. I'll tell you. If you run this, it will print the system date. You just have to write new date. Now, what is new? Please forget about this right now. I'll come over to it. But date is an internal class in Java language. Okay, internal file, something known as date.class. It is present somewhere in this, in these jar files. If you want to see where this date is present, you click on this icon in Eclipse. This is the icon in Eclipse. Fine. You click on this and then press the control button of your keyboard. This date will look like a link. Okay, when you hit the control button and move your mouse over date, it will look like a link. You click on it and this will open up automatically. This is your date.class file. This is somewhere inside one of the jar files. Okay, and if you have to get the system date, you just print new date and it gets the system date. So similarly, there are lots of other classes which are available with Java language, fine, which you can use. Okay, so when Java gets downloaded on your machine, these are the set of jar files which get downloaded. Alright, I hope this thing is clear. Fine. To convert Java classes in jar file to move project from one location to, will you cover how to create? Okay, the question is, will you cover how to create jar file? Look, I can tell you how to create a jar file. Fine. But you'll never feel the need of creating it. If you want to create it, it's very simple. For example, these are the two Java files, right? I want to put the class files for these Java files into a jar. It's quite simple. You right click on your project, you say export, fine. Right click on your project, you say export, go to Java, select jar, next, give any location, like I'll give the location as in my on my desktop, create a file named as temp.jar, next and finish. So you will have it, I guess. Yeah, you see that this jar file is formed. This file contains both the classes inside the project. It's quite simple to make a jar file. It's not a rocket science. Okay, but you'll never use it. You'll never use it. Right? You need to use the existing jar files which are there on the internet. You need to download them and you use them. Now, how do I get Selenium into this project? That's the basic question. All right. Now, if you look at Java, then Java is a set of jar files. Similarly, when you download Selenium, Selenium is nothing but a set of jar files. If you go to the website seleniumhq.org and go to the download section of this website, you will see that this is the Java client driver for Selenium. Okay, and the question is, I need to move one project from one computer to another computer. You can zip your project and move it. Zip and move it. That's how I do it, right? I don't convert it to a jar file or something. Because if I convert a project to a jar file and if I have to move it from one location to another, right, then the problem is that jar file will only have classes. It will not have the Java code. Okay. No matter how many classes are there, it's very lightweight. It will not be in GB. Okay, it will always be in hardly 5 MB, 10 MB, not more than that. Not unless it's a very big project. If it's a very big project, you have to use a repository management system like SVN, CVS, or Jenkins, or something like that. Okay, fine. Right. So where was I? I was telling you that this is the Java client API. Fine. If you look at this, then there is a Java.doc link over here. Fine. Which I just talked about. This is a documentation of Selenium WebDriver. If you click on the download link out here, you can download the latest version of Selenium, which is 2.35. Okay, and let me download it. Just 1 minute. I also don't have this version. I have 2.33 with me. Hold on. So this is a zip file which will get downloaded onto your system. Right. This zip file will have nothing, but it will have many class files inside it. Right, and I'll have to use those class files to work with Selenium. Sorry, many jar files inside it. Jar files. Hold on. So when you download Selenium, nothing gets downloaded, but jar files, they get downloaded onto your system. There is no exe file for Selenium like there is for QTP and all the other softwares. Wi-Fi. There is no exe file for QTP. Okay, you have to take this file. Hold on. I'll put a new folder known as versions. Just a minute. Earlier I was working with 2.33. Now they have 2.35 as well. So extract this zip file. You have this folder. Fine. Now in this folder you will have these two jar files. Apart from this, you will have other jar files inside library. Okay. You have to import all these jar files into your Eclipse. Fine. You have to import all the jar files in Eclipse into the project. So for that, you go to the properties of the project. Fine. Go to Java build path. Alright. And then go to libraries tab. This is the libraries tab. Okay. I'll again repeat. You go to the properties of your project. Fine. Go to Java build path and select the libraries tab. Fine. And from this libraries tab, you can import the jars which you downloaded into your Eclipse. Fine. To do that, you click on add external jars button, which is out here. You'll see that in this already the JRE system library jars are present. Okay. You click on add external jars and go to the location where you have downloaded the jars. It's out here. Yeah, these are the two jar files. You include them. Along with them, do not forget to include the jars which are there in library. Okay, you double click on libs and take all the jar files. So you'll get a reference library section in Eclipse out here. Fine, which was not there earlier. And if you expand this, you'll see all the jars of Selenium. So that's how you configure Selenium in your system. You download the jars of Selenium from seleniumht.org and import them in Eclipse. That's it. And now I can start working with Selenium. Alright. There is no exe file which you have to run. You never install Selenium. You have to download the jars and put them in your project. That's it. Okay. So any questions from anybody?
Yes. Yes, I mean, this is the library. I'm not sure. I mean, is it the same as the function library in QTP or?
No. You don't compare it with QTP. Function library is very different in QTP. Okay. Function library is something which you make.
Okay.
All right. You never made these jars.
Okay.
Okay. So function library is something which you make yourself in QTP. This is something which you get from the Selenium guys. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So these are the jar files from Selenium website which you have downloaded and included in your project. And now I can start working with Selenium. I can start my work with Selenium. Only thing is I need to know the concept of object-oriented programming. Fine. So this is how you download and configure Selenium in your machine. Fine. And now you need to understand the concept of object-oriented programming in order to use the classes which are present inside these jar files. Okay. So any question or any doubt from anybody? Anything from anyone?
I have a question. This is Sean.
Yeah.
I missed when you were installing the Selenium. I missed the steps. Is it going to come in the document or in the video? Somehow you will send us later on.
I can't understand you. Can you repeat? Can you repeat? Sorry.
When you were installing Selenium, right? I missed the steps. Right? Are you going to send this step in documents or somewhere? How
I'm recording this session. You will get the access to the recorded video.
Okay, sure.
I'm going to upload this video on YouTube and I'll send you the YouTube link.
Awesome. Thanks a lot.
Yeah. Fine. So whatever sessions I'll be taking, I'll be recording them. The free sessions I'll put them on YouTube. The paid ones, they are on my own server. You'll get a username and username and password to the website. When you log in, you'll get access to all the recordings and everything. Fine. So this is a very simple program which I made in Java earlier, and I primarily made this to explain you the concept of jar files. Alright. Now since we have downloaded the jar files of Selenium, how do we use them? There are so many jar files. Alright. Each jar file has got lot of classes inside it. Right. So how do I make use of them? To make use of them, you need to understand the concept of object-oriented programming, and you need to then refer the Java docs. This is the documentation. This is the documentation, and this documentation holds all the classes which are there inside the jar files. Look, nobody knows everything about all these classes. Okay, it's not that everybody knows everything, but you should have the knack, you should have the experience, so that whenever need arises you scroll to the classes and you study them and then you actually go forward and utilize them. Fine. So let me start with object oriented programming, or let me do one thing, let me take around 5 minutes of break. Let's start at 10 o'clock exactly, right? After around 5 to 7 minutes from now, let's take a break